Hello, everyone. It is such a good time to spend with you. Been so busy doing a lot of things. Took a little vay up at Disney World just for a few days just to kind of get out. So it was a real pleasure to sit down and talk with you. I know there's so many of you out there to address and help, but I wanted to just talk about a subject matter that's important, I think. And maybe we'll cram a few other things in it, but I wanted to talk about the healing crisis because it's something I haven't put a lot of time on, but I do see that we really need to understand that a little more because a lot of people don't understand what that means and what you're going to go through during this process from Hellville to Wellville. So we need to talk about that because there's so many different levels of individuals out there. The human body is so many different levels of that, depending on your diet, your genetics, coming out of the ethnic groups and the type of food you ate and that sort of thing. If certain foods break the body down more rapid. So when you're looking at high protein type diets, of course, those people have a lot of problems with the kidneys and the lymph systems and stuff like this. Then you have those that eat all the starches and stuff, and then you have all of those problems of the blood sugars, but all the mucus and stuff that comes from that. So you have just a wide range of different levels. You know, it's not everybody isn't walking into the doorway of detoxification at the same level. Matter of fact, as we've talked about spiritually many times before, is that everything is at a different level. Everything. So everyone is also at a different level, emotionally, mentally, their livers, the things that they hide and accept consciously, that's deep within them, and the things that they don't allow to come through, and the things that you allow to come through. You know, we all have been on long journeys. God sends itself through long journeys in creation, experiencing and growing and expanding itself, and it's interesting stuff. And then I wanted to go over a couple of things here besides the healing crisis. Maybe I'll go over a couple of things first, and then we'll tear into the healing crisis, and then it'll be a short video, I promise. Tracy, I got this one. I tell you, this is funny. This is an article that Tracy sent us, and Tracy is getting together an online class for us, and it's amazing her work that she's done in that. Just amazing stuff. It looks really good. Eating poop pills could make you thin. Seriously. So this is, she wrote a little message. Just thought you might want to see this article to see how absolutely ridiculous things are getting out there. And it does show you the insanity of that sort of thinking. Here we're going to give poop pills. Well, they've got Botox pills now. They've got all kinds of stuff that they're treating. So you're now taking botulism, or a form of dehydrated botulism, for major neurotoxins. I mean, you have to understand that this world is grabbed heavily by the negative side right now. The governments and all this, these guys have just succumbed to this. And this is why you can't elect politicians and things to help run the country. Those days need to end. Spiritual people have to now gain some control because they know how to inspire love and healing and wellness within the populace. Right now, our populace on this planet, this poor souls, are just so disjointed that here's a good example of one. This lady wrote in. We don't know whether she's a member or not, but her husband just completed 28 days of raw fruits and vegetables followed by a 10-day water fast. And now he's of a vile temper. He has been mean to her family, the dog, everything. So it's appropriate that we talk about healing crisis, but I thought that was interesting. I've seen this before too, and when one has liver or gallbladder problems and you start detoxifying and stirring up things, because that's what you're doing, you're hydrating, you're starting to create ionization everywhere, which is a form of hydration, and everything is starting to move from a more acidic medium, a cationic medium, into an anionic medium. So you have a lot of things that break up when you do that. You've got stored toxins and all types of things that release. Matter of fact, you can even, I think I told you once that on a water fast, I think it was the third day, I started craving Reese's peanut butter cups. And I just, realized that, well, I'm probably breaking up, maybe I had a Reese's peanut butter cup growing up, not something I really remember a lot of. And I was breaking up some of the toxins from that, and it was just creating that desire for that. Well, the next day I'm craving them even more. And then the third day it got so bad I whipped into a little convenience store, got me one of those big 3-packers and suck them right down. I was in heaven. It was like every bite was nirvanic, And then I went right along with my fast and finished it. And I never needed them again. I don't know what that was, just things like that, unusual things like that. Those are the easier healing crises. Old haunts coming back to haunt you is a big part of healing crisis. If you use pharmaceuticals in the manner from which they're prescribed, they're mostly suppressants. So when you suppress with an antispasmodic or with I'm talking pharmaceutical world here, or with an anti-inflammatory, or a pharmaceutical-made steroid, you are adding more acid chemistry in the body and you're creating more of this cationic environment, which is an environment of dehydration, of suppression, of accumulation. And so that adds to it. So you see that, a lot of you saw that already when you took steroids for acne and psoriasis and eczema and stuff like this, and then you came off of them. And wham! Your skin exploded. That's exactly, and it tells you that is a suppressant. Had nothing to do with healing anything. Pharmaceuticals and medical doctors are not about healing and regeneration of tissue. They're not into that. That's not their field. Their field is simply about the world of diseases, which we strongly disagree with. That is man-made concepts, has nothing to do with nature and how nature works and how chemistry and physics. We're just simply an effect of chemistry and physics. Period. And you can use conjecture, you can get the mind, you can get your academics, and you can throw labels on things and stuff, but life just keeps going down the road of chemistry and physics. For every action, there's an opposite reaction. You have acid and base chemistry. You have ionization, the process of neutralization and hydration, or dehydration, however you wish to look at that. I mean, these are just natural laws. It's just the way life is. It's the mind that labels. And because we prize the mind here instead of spirituality, then our academics, those are the ones we pay all the money to while they're developing their narcissism and elitism. Very difficult for a soul to develop the mind and keep its spirituality. For those that do, those are great souls. Very powerful beings. And they're out there. But you have to know when to use it and when not to use the mind. Because when you're not using the mind, you're more awake and more aware. When you're using the mind, you're off on chasing thoughts. And the more that you do that, the more you lose yourself, the less you see of life as a whole. And that affects how you see health, how you interpret health. And of course, man is so unconscious at this level, the Homo sapien in particular, that it's still lost. It can't figure out what to eat. Here's a good example of this. This is a food chart someone puts out. Acid alkaline food chart. The definitive. I love that, the definitive. Right? Now, this guy prizes Dr. Young. No comment on Dr. Young. He says he's a pioneer. He's far from a pioneer of the raw foods. Sorry. And he talks a lot about different ways of looking at the acid and the alkaline side of that, whether it's the ash or that's the stuff left over after you break everything down and heating up that stuff. He talks about sugar, which makes them very acidifying when we consume them. That's not true. He's made some false statements here. Sugar is actually what alkalizes and sweetens your fruit. That's what actually is the ripening stage of the fruit. And there's no consideration here of the species, the type of species, the digestive needs, the things that you guys know to be true. So when you see people putting this out and slandering all the other stuff, you just realize that they're limited in their awareness. And these aren't healer people. These aren't people that have spent their lifetime pulling people out of hell. And they come up and they put this out there, and he says, and he does allude to the fact that there's so many charts. Well, he's just another one out there. Another one with his own opinions. And so we try to make our charts not from opinions, from actual facts, and taking into consideration the anatomic and physiological aspects of the species, the different species, how they work chemically, in other words. And also anatomically, how they're designed. Why are they designed the way they are, and why are they eating the types of foods that different animals eat? And how does their design fit in with the type of foods that they're eating? Well, that's the research we've done. And that's puts you on top because it tells you to understand why different animals are designed the way they are internally. Why the pancreas secretes the level of digestive enzymes it does. The hydrochloric acid levels of the stomach. The difference. There's differences in all the species. The amount of stomachs, the volumes of the stomachs, the length of the GI tract, the hands, the claws, the hooves, the beaks. All those tell you what types of foods these different species can consume. And of course, intuitively, they go right to that. Man forgot that he's a frugivore. He's an islander species. So within the context of northern living and the types of food that northern living promotes, which you can see why in a cold climate, you're going to be more polarized to the acid-forming foods. In the hot, acidic climates like the tropics, you're polarized to the alkalizing foods. That's why man belongs in those areas. Those people that tough it out in the northern climates are eating foods that are disharmony from their body. So they're out of harmony. So they're called foreign. So most people eat foreign chemistry to their body and don't realize it because no one's looking at that and discussing that in terms of a rationale. You have all these people lost and kicking around thoughts they're just playing in the mind games. And there's plenty of books written on the mind games. How many people have the ability to lift themselves up above the thoughts of poop injections and ridiculous crap like this and look at the real truth of things? And you guys are one of the biggest groups that are doing that. So I'm proud of each and every one of you. Be careful about falling into crap like this and that sort of thing. And he goes on and on and on and on. You know, vegetable, vegetable, vegetable. You know, so if we were vegetable eaters, we would have a totally different design. You'd look like a horse or a cow or, you know, even a bear is a high grass eater. We don't have any identification to that. We have identification to the primate family. But you have to also pull back and look at where they're living, the conditions that they're in. But the primates are frugivore species. So let's talk about the healing crisis. Because it can be tough for some of you, and I've already had a couple of you guys in the office here talking about your healing crisis. One guy had a lot of pain in his, I think in his ankle and then in his knee. Absolutely. And the best place, and we're going to be talking about this in our class coming up, how to identify the body in relation to healing crisis. That's another thing that I want to do is make sure I get that down. Healing crisis and the iris. So we'll get into that. So you can identify, so you can tell your clients or for yourself where you could have a little bit of discomfort during a healing crisis, and your eyes will tell you right off. As soon as you see those deeper crypts, those are those lesions in the eye that look deeper. Those are for sure going to be some places. So you can see them in people's throats, even the lacunas, which are, these are just markings in the eye with different levels of depth. Different levels of that. But you can tell right whether they're going to have a sore throat and how bad that could be, whether they're going to have pain in the hip or the knees. So you can tell that by looking at these lacunas and crypts, these different fiber patterns in the iris. And of course they freak out when you say, well, you could have, well, already did. You did? Yeah. So it's just, and pain. I'm telling you, this one case, this was a young lad that the local newspaper brought to us. And he just got back from Moffitt. He had stomach cancer, and he was diagnosed with stomach cancer from Moffitt. And that's a big cancer center in Tampa. And they wanted to remove 2/3 of his stomach and put him on a little chemo and radiation. And the editor of the newspaper actually took him up there because I guess they became friends or something. I don't know, but... So he came in my office after he got back from Tampa, from Moffitt, and he was telling me this story, and he said, well, I wanted to know because I'm making a story about this. We've heard about you, and I'm putting together a story, and I'm going, well, it's just interesting. So he said, and they want about $95,000, and that'll be about the minimum for that. Well, come to find out, this young lad was from New York City and had been in the hospital multiple times with ulcers. And that, of course, all the warning signs were there for him, and no one was able to help him, of course. And he ran up hundreds of thousands of hospital bills. So he left there, came down here, probably started the same cycle. So I said, well, you know, it's going to be strict, but I'll be glad to help him. I said, it shouldn't cost much. It depends how strict he is and that sort of thing. And the editor said, well, we'll do a story on you, you know, and we'll watch you while you work on him. I said, okay, that sounds good. Needed the publicity. And so I ran him on grapes quite a bit since the newspaper was watching. I think 56 days, I think I had him on grapes at least 40 of them, or 45 of them, I'm sure. But I got a call one day, and his girlfriend said he had passed out on the bathroom floor. I said, he passed out on the bathroom floor? She said, yes, and he claims he can't move, he's paralyzed. And I said, oh, really? And I said, what else? And he said, well, he's throwing up this black stuff, and it's kind of oozing out his butt, too. I'm going, oh, wow. I said, listen, he's in a deep healing crisis. Let him lay there till he feels comfortable, and help him clean him up and get him in bed. So she did. Well, the next day, he called me and said, I said, how you doing, man? He said, I'll tell you what. He said, about an hour or two after she got me to bed, she said, this power came into me that I've never felt. And I tell you, it'll happen to each and every one of you. It's happened to all of us. And it came into him. He said, my God, where did this come from? I said, that's the God force, man. He said, my God. He said, I can't believe how much energy I have and how good I feel. And I said, well, I'm going to send you to a medical doctor here to get re-diagnosed. No stomach cancer left, 56 days. Yeah. So, but you have to be strong with yourself. You have to understand that nature uses water fasting or dry fasting as for its creatures, and we're part of nature. So when you can clean yourself up on food, be thankful, be honestly. So the fruit and the berries and the melons, when you're looking at food, you can't just eat food and get yourself well. You used to be able to shift to fruits, berries, and melons and maybe some salads and do it. You can come a long way with that, but using the botanicals just really puts an icing on the cake. However you look at that. So I've had so many healing crises. I told you about the one, and this was a young lady that had cervical cancer at 30, thyroid cancer at 32, and came to me with pancreatic cancer at 34. They had done a hysterectomy for the first one, thyroidectomy for the second one, and of course told her she was going to pass with the third. So this took me 11 months to get this case, but this was a tough case. Those get me a lot of times, because it's spending 11 months in somebody's world, She came in one day, tumors all over her legs, popping out golf ball-sized tumors all over her legs. And her medical doctor, she freaked out and went to her medical doctor, and her medical doctor said, well, her cancer had spread all through her. She didn't have long to live. So she came into my office crying and upset, and I said, he's full of crap. I said, you're just in a healing crisis. Well, by the time the week was over, she had over 50 tumors. And so I just kept her going and strict. And by God, a few weeks after that, they're all gone. Next time she comes in, I said, how you doing, honey? She said, well, I've been to the dentist. One of my teeth were loose, and they pulled it, and I got another one over here. And I said, no, you're in a healing crisis. She said, well, I do have a couple of abscesses. I said, you're in a healing crisis. By the time the week was out, she had 7 big abscesses, and all her teeth were loose. I kept her rocking, baby. I'm washing her mouth out with Heal All Tea and rocking. A couple of weeks later, all the abscesses are gone. The gums are locked down on her teeth, cleaned and nice. Off to the next healing crisis. But in a look at her eyes, you can see why she had the healing crisis. When you're someone that's being diagnosed by the medical community as having cancer cells in you, you're at a degenerative level. And that is a level that you have to fix. This is why people die with it. It's not the cancer. That's a made-up whole concept. It's the level of degeneration you want to look at. When you're mutating your cells, and I've said this before, the human cell has never been so degraded as you see now. So it's just, we have to turn things around, and thanks to you guys, you beautiful souls out there, you're doing it. You are the higher ones on the planet. And as you come in and see these videos, understand that. This is about you and feeling good and being happy in your world. Yeah, we can go through angers. This poor lad is really giving his wife and family a hard time. That's why the herbs are helpful. The herbs are helpful because I run you on a program. I've watched these healing crises for 40-some years. I've been through them myself all these years, back and forth. So, we've detoxed several 100,000 people. My good friend Jensen's detoxed 300,000 people. So, we all know what's up, pretty much. Well, there's always something new, of course, but we know where you're going with this and with the outcome of this. But a lot of times it's scary for you, and I understand that. And a lot of you have went to the emergency room with this, and we've actually sent people to the emergency room. Want to be sure we don't want to hurt anybody, because some people are pretty advanced in their issues. And when your body is 50% in a degenerative state, you're in trouble. So an ER trip is good, because those guys can stabilize our people. They might not understand what a healing crisis are, and 99.99% that our clients call us back and say they didn't find anything. I said they're not going to, but at least they keep you there to be stabilized, because some of these healing crises are dramatic. The body can put itself through some crap, brother. And this is why I designed these herbs like I have and these programs like I have, to keep that to a minimum. When you go full bore from an omnivorous diet into a fruitarian diet, you're going to get your butt kicked. There's a process to work and wean off of that. It's like stopping a steroid when you've been on it for 10 years. Going to get your butt kicked because you've been suppressing everything for 10 years and suddenly you just stopped it. The gates are going to fly open. Because the body's job is to get rid of that which it shouldn't be in it. That's why there's elimination is a vital part of understanding wellness. Proper elimination. That's what most docs on this planet don't get, is the role of the kidneys and the lymphatic system. You guys do. That'll put you on top of all the physicians of the world, because no physician can get anybody from Hellville to Wellville without understanding the lymph system and what they're doing. Especially you advanced cases that are in wheelchairs and things like this. And you can get yourself out of these chairs. You can get yourself out of these things. And if you don't, it's only your lack of self-discipline. And let me tell you, you're in a chair, I'm in a chair, I want out of that friggin' chair. So I'll do whatever it takes to get out of that chair. And that's what you guys need to do. You're in a wheelchair, you get out of that chair. Just because the rest of the world can't get you out of it doesn't mean we can't. You can't lay that on other people. That's what our expertise is, the regeneration of tissue. Whether you're in a chair 50 years or 2 years, doesn't matter. And it's not just those in chairs. Whatever level you are, bedridden or what. Yeah, can take a little while. You can go through hell getting well, no question. Ups and downs, angers and happiness and things like this. I had a quad. She was a C3, C4 quad, head-on car crash, complete spinal cord separation. Well, she was called the Velcro Queen because her spasticity was so high, she'd throw herself right out of the chair. So they had her tied in, and she could only move at a C3, C4. You don't have any of this. You only have your tongue. So she had a little lever on her wheelchair to move it with her tongue. She actually made me a stained glass piece with her mouth. God, amazing. So the first 3 months were hell. She would call me laughing one minute, call me cussing me the next minute, and call me crying the next. All that emotional trauma, all that inner, and all that through lifetimes was coming out. So it's up and down and up and down. Her caregiver wanted to kill me. I said, I can't help it. I don't have control of that, except stop the healing crisis. And the way you stop a healing crisis, the way you stop getting well, is start eating cooked food. That's the first thing you got to do. You don't want to slide yourself all the way back to the meats and dairies and all the crap like that, because then it will kick your butt. But just start eating cooked vegetables is enough to slow up a healing crisis. I mean, it shows you that eating, taking out energy slows you down. You know, taking a food and cooking it and destroying the energetics of it and bonding the chemistry of it stops you from getting well. But they're needed sometimes in the process, because remember I told you this is an art. And those of you that are involved in this beginning to see the fact that this is an art. And the art is taking each individual from their individual state and moving them through this maze of detoxification, through their emotional components of lifetimes and lifetimes of journeys, through their mind and the control that has on them. And any entities that might be stuck there too, you're taking them through this whole process. Fun stuff. Always did like to clear the entities away from people. Always was something I always loved to do. But it's enough to say, I'm so proud of you guys. And remember, the healing crisis is just a part of this journey. And it's not all that bad. But you can have headaches when you start this. You can have some of the old symptoms coming back. But I'll tell you this. I had this in MS. I've had this in, what's that just chokes you off and scars you up? Oh gosh, that slipped my mind. I was trying to think of that the other day. Had a couple of those cases. My God, scleroderma. Oh my God. I had 2 cases in the past that showed me this. One was a scleroderma case, and she's about 19 years old. Well, scleroderma is a highly advanced acidic place. Get in the connective tissue, it just kind of chokes you off, and pretty soon you're scarred, you can't breathe, and you die. So I had a 19-year-old, and she was getting bad, and so I ran her through the detox. Better, good, and all symptoms, everything's gone. Medical doctor's happy as hell, everything is good. Suddenly, all the symptoms come back. She calls me up, she says, oh my God, I've got it back. All my symptoms are back. I said, no, honey, no. That's just a detox. Just a detox. And sure enough, as soon as she went through that, for about a day or 2, maybe 3, all gone. Totally clean, gone out of her system, totally healthy. MS case. Same type of thing. Walking, everything's good. Suddenly she had a healing crisis, couldn't walk again, everything's down. A few days later, back up again she went and everything else. You just never know. Here's one for you. Had an Amish lady and had her on a monthly schedule. We were talking every month, and I asked her how she was doing one month, and she says, oh, I've got poison ivy all over me. I said, oh, where'd you get into that at? She said, well, I didn't. I said, you didn't? She said, no, this is from the detox. This is where I had it all before. Conk. She taught me a valuable lesson. And when you understand it's just the acids interfering with your acids, what you do with stinging nettles, and you invoke a symptom there. Of course, I don't like that sort of herbology, but But she was detoxing the acids from the plant and herself out of her system, which was stuck in her lymph system the same place it was before. Shows that her lymph system wasn't moving well. See, when your lymph system isn't moving well, poison ivy, all the poison oak, all these things, they'll become real to you. When you're cleaning that, you can touch that, eat that. But when you got a lymph backed up, that's when all the crap hits you, the allergies and all this. That's all sewer system stuff. You clean that out, and you'd be surprised where you can walk. Look at these viral things. All these viruses are out, and there all these people dying from that, and the heads are getting mutated. These are just proteins with an attitude. You can't kill them. That's why there's no antidote. You can get a suppressive vaccine, I suppose, but that's not going to stop it. And matter of fact, how many people are going to get the virus from the vaccine when they do come out with it? I mean, it's just, they're going to kill a bunch of people just, so it's a mess. Now, really, what's a mess is people's lymph systems. And if anything on this planet, if they're concerned about virals, there's one thing about a viral load you have to understand. And that is, you have to have a clean system. Viral loads can only be detoxed out of the body. You can't kill proteins. What are you going to do? You can bind them. I mean, it's just real serious stuff. So you have to understand, this is really just the people's terrain within their body that's causing the problems. Virals have been around for time immemorial. Things have been around time immemorial. Of course, man is creating a lot of things like this, right? How about the HIV, Ebola? A lot of people traced that. Remember, what was it, Wallach, or what was his name, the dentist that traced it to Bethesda Air Force Base and germ warfare? I mean, it's just unreal, the information we have on the HIV, and nobody is paid for this. We have the injection sites, we have the cities, we have the dates, and nobody's paid for this. And yet a lot of people's died with the HIV. You got HIV, you don't have to die. That's not a death sentence. And neither is AIDS. Neither is Hep C and hepatitis. This is going to all be detoxed and fixed. And that's the only way. Herpes the same way. You got herpes, the only one way to get them out. You go on a raw food diet, they'll go dormant, so you won't have any expressions, but detox them out of the body and you're done. Give your body a good cleaning. And we all need to clean the body. But in that process, there are symptoms. Cold and flu-like symptom is the best one you want, because guess what's starting to drain? Your head and your sinuses. That suppresses pituitary, pineal, hypothalamus, the cerebellum, gets in the eyes. I mean, all this mucus and congestion, then the suppression of the lymph system, and then the adding of the metabolitic waste from the brain that now can't go anywhere, and you just keep going and going and going. All that can be cleaned out of the body. All these acids, all this acidosis, all this inflammation, inflammatory responses to that, all cleaned up and everything rebuilt. But to do that, you must leave the dietary world of the insane, the dietary world of the non-Homo sapien, and enter the world of the Homo sapien, what we're designed to eat. Not what we decided or thought we should eat, what we're designed to eat. Our minds are way too conditioned to have any type of trusted intuitiveness. Now you put the babies there, and I've said this before, take a room full of children, put you up a big table of fruits and a big table of vegetables, and I can tell you where they're going first and foremost. You might have a few eat the vegetables, they're all mostly going to go to the fruit. They are not so conditioned yet that they haven't lost all their intuitiveness. A lot of people are just afraid of fruits, afraid of sugars. You're afraid of sugars. If you ask me which is worse for you, sugars or proteins, I'm going to tell you everyday proteins, because this is the one reason we're suffering so much with extreme acidosis is proteins. It doesn't matter whether they're milk proteins, they're dead animal proteins, flesh proteins, whether they're bean proteins, whether they're grain proteins like glutens. The body doesn't do well with proteins. And yet we just keep inviting that world into us, and look at the suffering. It's out there. And we can still have athletics at levels that I've never seen before on this planet, but you have to do it with a different focus in mind. We have a lot of athletes now that are coming in, especially bodybuilders and that, and you have to save yourselves. You know, you try to keep them as big as you can, I guess, but you have to save yourself because I'll tell you, you don't want to end up with RA. And you can go and have a beautiful physique and end up with RA, you lose it. And I've got pictures of a beautiful, this guy had 27 and a half inch arms. Huge, I forget what his chest was, huge, made a lot of magazines. Came to me with RA, elbows out to here, wrist gone. Wasn't worth it. I asked him, was it worth it? Not worth it, because if you can't fix this, you got pain the rest of your life and you have no joints. I mean, it's a nightmare from hell. And you just have to fix these things. So, and for you weightlifters, you have to be careful now, because with all the parathyroid weaknesses, you can blow your rectum. And I was trying to find that picture to show you what a blown rectum looks like, but that's not good either. You don't want to blow your rectum out. So you got to be real careful when you do these things. You got to be smart with what you're doing. And then you can get as powerful and as strong and as flexible as you need to. But you have to be smart. Anyway, this is about healing crisis, and I'm going to go ahead and cut this off and just realize that we go through all types of ups and downs during this process. So anything's up for grabs, and everybody's an individual. Emotions can come pouring in. Images of things coming in from you don't know where. Let it all pass through. Let everything pass through. You pull back, become strong. When you're detoxifying, make this your special time. Stop thinking during these times too. Practice that too. Don't just practice the diet. Make it all go. Stop thinking. Pull back. Try to become the observer instead of the thinker. And your journey will take you so far into worlds that you will fondly remember that be worth it. Every single second will be worth the time you put into this. Guarantee you. And you'll wake up to who you really are, and then your journeys will be much grander than a little rock spinning through space that doesn't really exist but in the blink of an eye of God. So get into that consciousness that you are and enjoy the ride. But the ups and downs of detox is very real, and we can't make conclusions out of that. It's like this, Brian made this conclusion that, excuse me, this lady ended up in ICU because she ate hybrid grapes. Oh my God. I mean, that's the kind of conclusions that some of the people that are trying to be practitioners can make, but you can never be a good practitioner with that kind of consciousness, because you're blaming the very thing that you're using to get them well that no one else had that problem with, and it has nothing to do with that. These are healing crises. And if you're not careful, and this is, you'll find why I got these herbal formulas the way I do, and that's to help me with healing crisis. So it's less on you guys, and we can get deeper into the body. So when you open up the kidneys and everything at the same time, your healing crises are so much better. Some of you are still going to explode through the skin. That one is really tough for me, because you've been building up right under the skin, which is subcutaneous. It's called subcutaneous layers of the skin. So it's under the dermis, epidermis, and subcutaneous. So it's hiding under there, affecting the redness of the dermis. But when you start detoxing, boom, they're itching because it's full of fungus, because there's always carbohydrates involved. There's always fermentation and putrefaction somewhere in the human body. So you're always going to have bacterials and funguses in the body to some extent. Of course, bacteria is essential to have in the human body, particularly in the lymph nodes. Medical doctors don't get this. You give somebody so many antibiotics and you kill your lymph node bacteria. Just ask your medical doctor. You go to your house, you fill your septic tank full of antibiotics, you kill the bacteria in your septic tank, and I'll be back in about a week to talk to you about what your experiences are. But they're doing it to everybody else, killing their bacteria in their septic systems. That's about as insane as you can get. But again, they're trapped in this ridiculous concept of diseases that they made up, and some kind of autoimmune crap and that the bacteria is the problem and these killer virals and stuff. No consideration for the individual and their unhealthy eating habits. And they're eating fuel or burning fuel that's bad fuel that leaves toxic residues from burning of that fuel. We wouldn't do it in our car. We don't want to break down along the highway by burning dirty fuel. Why would we do it in our bodies? But haven't been educated to that. So this has been a bumpy ride for the education of health on this planet. An interesting thing to me that we're so ignorant about health on this planet, and you have people writing these things like that and having vegetables on their cover instead of having fruit. But it's the state of this planet. That's why each and every one of you are essential. And I love every one of you guys, whether you love me back or not. You get your wellness. And if you're having a hard time, we got a whole bunch of staff to help you. And we're here to help. But you take the journey on yourself. Because from here on, you be the driver of your own car. Now, some of you are real young that listen to this, so you'll have to let your parents drive your car for a while. But I'm proud of you young guys and gals listening and taking your health in your hands. You know, when I get a letter from a 5-year-old, I go back and cry for a while. It's life. Life on the planet. Tough down at these low levels like this. But we bond together. There's power in numbers and strength, because it's what it's going to take. Like I said, when I came here, I brought a lot of souls came with me. So we'll see how that all manifests. I'm starting to meet you all here and there. Just beautiful. And what we have to do to help this realm, because it's not just about a rock and all this. It's about this dimension and the level of consciousness and the expansion of this dimension. There's a lot more to it than just this lonely little planet and everything else. Oh no. This is huge, and it affects all the God worlds, all of them, because you have a body in all levels. You're a much bigger being than you realize. So that's what I'm trying to get you all to do, is become awake to who you guys really are and how beautiful and magnificent each and every one of you really are. And that getting your health is simple. All this stuff is simple. We don't need to be wasting so much money, time, and effort on getting well. So that's why some of you are stuck doing that. But hopefully in the future generations, they won't spend half their earnings on hospitals and medical doctors getting worse and worse and worse. You parents have fixed them up really well, and now you have children that are healthy and giving you grandchildren, great-grandchildren that are healthy, and now changing the whole globe in its health issues and its awareness, because need to. Love you guys. Thank you so much. And no poop pills. That's going to be my recommendation. No poop pills to lose weight. Just go on a raw food diet. You get your health back, your weight comes off, you clean yourself up. Can't ask for anything better, baby. Love you all. Namaste, Baraka Bashad, and go out and have some fun. I'll be back this afternoon doing a video and Q&A. So I'll get to your questions this afternoon. I wanted to get this up and say hi. It's been a week since I've got you a video. Although now there was 2 videos sitting back there, and I didn't realize that, but Chris had been real sick and real swamped, so I think we got them both up for you. So now hopefully I brought Drew in to help timestamp, because that's a massive amount of work for us to timestamp these videos. Massive amount of work. That's why they're not going up real quick, because time stamping them puts them 3 days to a week behind. So I'm behind. So when I'm behind and they're behind, you don't get a video for 2 weeks. That doesn't make me happy. So we're trying to change all that to where you should have this video up in the next hour or 2. Okay. Love you guys. Wait a minute. I'm not done. Chris, don't cut this yet. I'm not done. What is this? Stevie boy. This is one of our class. Let's see if I can get a class in here. This is our camera wall in the office. That's a light to God down the pathway. I'm done. There's Barry. I'm done. I want to show him this calendar and. Okay. Want me to come get you?
Yeah.
Let's see if I got a picture of all his classmates. Oh, Hildy. You see all that?
Where's your back?
I don't know. Oh, it's back there. Ian. Good looking guy, good looking thing that guy is, let me tell you. And this is just some of the class. Of course, we had, what, 70 people in it or whatever. We have fun. I have fun at the classes. I love you all. It's so much fun. You guys are something else. You guys are something else. You guys, I don't know how you do all this stuff. Thanks for the Arizona pictures. I didn't see any ear candles. I'll be looking for those ear candles, but some nice pictures of Sedona. You guys are a sweet, sweet, sweet bunch of people. You're such good people. If you're going through hard times, here's a big hug. We're here.